Hey everybody, welcome to Time Zones and Time Meters. It's your host Josh and your other host Simon. We're here to talk about covers today, musical covers, and we're pretty pumped to discuss the topic because obviously covers, like there's millions of them, right? There's millions and millions of them, so it should be cool. How are you? You good, Simon? You well?
Yeah, absolutely. I have been looking at covers all week. I think my favorite is no, I'm just kidding. It's we're talking about covering pieces of music, not album covers.
We could do album covers as well. Actual album covers. Oh my
That's a
god.
different show.
Did I say
It would
album
be, it
covers
would
as
be shame
well?
if I prepared the wrong thing, you know?
Oh God. Yeah. Well, there you go. So, yeah, so we're talking about music covers, specifically songs, because for both Simon and myself are sort of bit prog heads. There'll probably be a few prog things in there, but we didn't want to restrict ourselves to just progressive sort of music. We really do think that there's so much stuff out there. We don't want to sort of rid the world of that. So we want to sort of share some stuff. So look, when we first brought up covers, I instantly thought of like a whole bunch of different songs. Was just kind of going through in my head, like what's a big cover, and what would we bring up? Because we only wanted to bring up like five today each. And so I thought to myself, like, what constitutes a great cover? And I'm curious to think, like, what do you think constitutes a great cover?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, to be honest, I'm not a big cover guy usually. So I was like when you suggested this as a topic, I did not have like these immediate, oh, that one. You know, of course, there's tons of them. So as soon as I did some thinking, I have some contenders. Um, but I think absolutely the thing is to put your own touch on it. That has to be it. Something that I despise usually is a generic metal cover of a famous song. Like I don't need the, especially with like a drum machine. I I do not need to hear Bee Gees "Staying Alive" with double bass drums and chugging
Yeah,
guitars.
drop D,
Exactly,
tubing.
in drop D. I have zero interest of that. Um, I, rather, I want it to be as different as it possibly can. Like usually, I want as you know, yeah, yeah, as a different, you wanted to surprise me a little bit. But yeah, I guess we'll see. Yeah, what is your idea of a good
I
cover?
think it has to. Okay, so that's one. So if a good cover is one that experiments, which changes things up, which maybe reimagines, the original. Then there's also if they just do it better. And so for me it's kind of like there's a few examples that I thought of where they just do it tons better, and so that then becomes the centerpiece of how I remember the song. So I don't know the original anymore, and
The thing is, of course, better is difficult, right? It's 100% subjective,
yeah.
and and I was thinking about this yesterday. I'm not going to sidetrack too
Yeah,
far
no,
here, but
until you want.
it is relevant to the topic because, like in these days, where you could have, is it better musicians, or I mean, it has to have a soul, right? Especially in these days where you can have AI, you can say make a cover of this song, and you will have it with more perform with more precision and more on tune
Or you
and
can get
better
it done with
timing.
Arnold. You can get it done with Arnold Schwarzenegger's voice. Have you seen those?
If you would, yeah, exactly. And he will have a 5 octave range, but that's not what's going to make it better, right? It has to be something unique.
Yeah, and so the first things that came to my mind when we talk about covers is people like Whitney Houston, for example, singing "I Will Always Love You." Like that's a cover, and nobody knows the original. Why? Because she just fucking kills it. Like she showcases a voice that you just go,
I
whoa.
would not say nobody, but absolutely, I think that she kicks ass with Dolly Parton's
Yeah,
original version.
and that's the thing. So like, does that would that be
I'm
the
not
my
a big
number?
country guy, I have to say, but
No,
yeah,
either am I. But I'm open to finding some great country hits. So you guys out there, let us know. But no, but that's the thing, right? So
I'm
I think
open
of
too, but
like,
it's a hard sell.
yeah, and songs like "Blinded by the Light" by like what was it, Manfred Mann's Earth Band or something. Like
Love it,
that's
love Manfred Earth. Earth
yeah, it's a fantastic cover of a Bruce Springsteen song that they
Bruce
was
Springsteen,
written
yeah.
like 5 years beforehand. I don't remember the Bruce Springsteen version, and so
No,
it's
it's
kind
true.
of like
Yeah,
so they're
good
just two.
example. Great example.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think they're my first two examples of just kind of like, yeah, that's got to be up there, right? And so I think that's what I'd be looking for. But of course, this is time zones and time meters. Like I'm not going to bring up Whitney Houston and Manfred Mann's Earth Band, although that's pretty proggy actually. Um,
Manfred, yeah, totally. That album is prog as fuck. Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah. It's a
maybe
proper
it's
old school prog album. Yeah,
maybe it's perfect, and that should have gone as in my top five. But look, this
good.
is also a sneaky way of like just putting a few extra little things in there, yeah.
Yeah,
And we have to, of course, talk about Kid Rock doing "Sweet Home Alabama."
yeah.
We have to talk about "Smooth Criminal" by Alien Ant Farm. We have to talk
Yeah.
about "American Pie" by Madonna. And maybe what was that one by Limp Bizkit where they did the Blue Eyes?
Oh
What's
yeah,
it?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
Behind Blue Eyes by
so I don't think, yeah. So I don't think you can talk about covers with also not mentioning the complete bombshells where they have essentially like destroyed the original songs.
but that's a
And
little bit that's the thing, right? From our generation, I'm afraid that more people connect Behind Blue Eyes to Limp Bizkit than to The Who, and like people don't know what they're missing out on, and it's also like they can taint. It, for a little while, it kind of got tainted to me that I was thinking Fred Durst when hearing The Who, and that's the last thing I want to do. And
yeah,
I'm no way a snob, or maybe I am, but yeah, I just don't I don't appreciate Limp Bizkit. Yeah, yeah.
and that's the kind of point, right? So it's really tricky because because of this. So I like the topic. I like to be able to consider like what makes that what made American Pie by Madonna right absolutely like vilified online, and what, like, how did she lose so much fanfare because of what
To be
she
honest,
did?
I'm not so upset about the Madonna cover because I'm not a huge fan of the original one,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like I'm a fan of neither of those songs, I think. Yeah,
Mm.
but yeah, Britney Spears, "I Love Rock and Roll," I think goes in there. That's also like it contributed nothing; it just made the song lame. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I actually should have gone looking for Britney Spears covers, and I did a fair bit of work. I actually thought to myself, what are some good ones, and did some hunting, and I found some stuff I had no idea existed. Like
Mhm.
I don't know Opeth's discography, and I didn't realize they'd done some covers.
Oh yeah, 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 of
Yeah,
Iron Maiden.
and also like Alice in Chains, like they did Wood, and like there's some stuff out there. Like Coheed and Cambria did Hello by Adele, and you know,
Yeah.
like there's some really cool shit out there that you just go, oh wow, like that's
Uh,
good.
I have an honorable mention in that aspect then because Children of Bodom, do you know them?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They have covered Britney Spears. Oops, I Did It Again. I think that one is quite successful.
I think they've done a few. If I remember correctly, I
They
listened
have an old
to.
album which is called Skeletons in My Closet. Um, but that one at least was made an impression on me. Yeah, I mean, it's funny, right? It's not very serious, but yeah.
Yeah, and that's it. And there's millions of people that have been on like Australian Idol or something and done a cover of something that's gone viral out there. So it's tricky. But anyway, how's about we get into our top fives? Oh, we're not well, our five that we're recommending today anyway. And how's about you start, shall we? Let's let you start.
All right. Yeah, I have them in no. I have not ranked them. I just have five favorites. Well, my first contestant is Angra performing "Wuthering Heights" by Kate Bush.
Yep.
Um, because I mean, Kate Bush is already pretty high up there with her voice. It's like that album, The Kick Inside. It's almost like it overstays its welcome a little bit with how much she is up there with her tenor, her head voice. Um, and then you have this guy who just takes that to an extreme there, Andre Matos, I believe his name is, the singer of Angra. And it just becomes absurd with how he interprets that, because it's also like the original is so feminine.
Yeah.
Like Kate Bush really has this feminine way of singing, and then he does it just as feminine, but he's a dude, and yeah, it's just it's funny, but still good.
Mm-hmm.
It's yeah. That's my first contestants. It's from like 93, 94, something like that.
Yeah, I love Kate Bush, and so like I especially like I quite like it. Quite a few of her things. I think it's cool. But so when I saw that myself, I had to look it up, and so I've only just recently heard it. I didn't know it existed, so I'm going to continue listening to it, and it's cool. The one that I put up here is "Thank You," which was originally sung by Alanis Morissette in 1995, if you remember, The Jagged Little Pill.
Oh, is that long ago? Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember. Yeah.
20 years, like 20 years ago. Um,
You say 95?
oh, yeah, no, that's 30 years. Oh, my
Yeah.
God. Oh, my God. Mic drop, walk out of the room, right? Yeah, I know. I got lots and lots of these. Yeah. But yeah, so Stephen Wilson did a cover. I know we spoke about Stephen Wilson last week, but if you haven't heard it, it's good. The original I really liked. I thought I quite liked Alanis Morissette in that she's raw, like it's raw music, and she sort of puts it all out there. And that song I thought was a really it was quite touching. She's like seeing it all out there. And but Stephen Wilson, he does this beautiful, simple, acoustically driven version that's pretty much just him, and it's just got this quality about it that'll bring a tear to your eye. Like it's really, really heartfelt. So yeah, if you guys are out there, check it out. If you're a Stephen Wilson fan, you've probably heard it before. But if you haven't, yeah, it's "Thank You." Yeah, by Alanis Morissette was the original.
And honorable mention there, what I mentioned last week as well is his cover of Space Oddity, which is the B-side of some single. It's also
Chef's Kiss.
yeah.
Right, what's your next one? Let's have a look.
All right. Now I'm wandering into the psychedelic territory. There is this band that existed in like the late 60s, early 70s. The Vanilla Fudge. I don't know if you heard them. Vanilla Fudge.
Vanilla
well,
Fudge.
I mean, it's like a super psychedelic band, right? And their thing was a little bit to make psychedelic covers of contemporary music, but they also had their own songs. And they have a cover of, my favorite one is their version of "Ticket to Ride" by the Beatles. And I mean, to be honest, the original one is already a little bit psychedelic, but this is where it goes all out. It has like this, dragging drums, like this left right panning. Especially listen to it with the headphones. A flanger, so it's like, you don't need LSD. You just need to put this on, and you will feel that you are in a trip. It's like they did it so damn good, and yeah. So I mean, I like the original version a lot. I can't say which one I prefer because they are fundamentally very freaking different. But yeah, I recommend listening to this song just for the natural high of it. It's some gold stuff. I recommend this band also, but this is absolutely a high point in their career.
Yeah,
Ticket to
right.
Ride,
Yeah,
Vanilla Fudge.
Vanilla Fudge, Fudge.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah,
okay, cool. Well, it's a
yeah,
good
yeah,
name.
yeah. Like the candy.
Yep. Cool. I popped that down. I've written some notes. I will continue to write notes as always.
Yeah.
The next one I was going to do is uh, let's do this one. You'll probably roll your eyes. You'll probably hate me for saying this one. Everyone's going to know it, but I absolutely loved The Sound of Silence. So Disturbed did a cover of Simon and Garfunkel's one, and I know you were talking before about hating like metal just chugged straight over the top of it, but this one to me was
This is not metal chugging, right? This is more emotional.
yeah, that's right. And I spoke to my brother about this maybe like a week ago, I think it was, and he was saying he didn't really like the film clip because he just watched it on YouTube or something, I think. But my first experience of this was actually a live version, and so it was a live one on one of those American like nighttime shows, and or at least that's what it looked like to me, and it was unreal. And I really, really, because I knew the song quite well too, like I knew the Simon and Garfunkel one, and I just couldn't believe the way they took that song, kept it so attached to the like lyrical content like behind it, and then just freaking created a tear-jerking, heartfelt, like incredibly powerful, I think musically, like piece. And I regard Disturbed as pop music as far as I'm concerned. Like it's about as poppy as it gets, and so I've never really given them much time, if I'm honest, other than like you sort of put your hands up, have a little bit of a laugh, and at some of the intros and stuff that they do. But but this really showcased the lead singer's sort of vocal talents, which I was not quite as aware of. And I thought they really did a great job of it compositionally as well.
I think I do not dislike Disturb. I'm not a fan. I think that Down with the Sickness is a killer track which also displays his vocal abilities. That said, this song I can see why people like their version of it. I'm not particularly blown away by it. I think that I would put it like this. I prefer their cover over Nevermore's cover, which they really make like a metal version of it. But I prefer Nevermore as a band to Disturb.
Disturbed, yeah.
But in the end, my preference is the original.
Yeah, right. Whereas there's no way I would think of the original anymore. And that's why I rate this so highly, is because when someone says The Sound of Silence, I just go straight to that one. And I knew the other song for a long time beforehand, and was very familiar. So I think it's really interesting that it was that significantly changing for me.
Yeah.
All right, next. I got my one that's a little bit like out.
No, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. We have to be honest. Okay,
Some pats me on the head.
this one I doubted a little bit, like if it was the right choice, I chosen a different Simon and Garfunkel cover, America, that Yes covered this song, um, and it's also on like a B-side or as bonus material on Fragile or Close to the Edge or something like that. But um, so basically, what they do, they take the original song and they turn it prog. So it has this long instrumental section while keeping the theme of the music. So I mean, and it ends up being, I think, around 10 minutes instead of around 3.5 minutes, depending a little bit on which version, because I believe it's all live versions. They only played it live, but the audio quality is top notch. So I mean, it's very very good recordings of this live version, and I mean they definitely turn it into their own thing. But that said, when you mentioned Manfred Mann's Earth Band, uh, yeah, I think that might be even a better, old school prog cover or old school progification
Mm.
version of a 5 year older track.
Mm.
But there's lots of examples of prog bands doing that. But I
Mm.
think maybe Manfred Mann
Man's
did
Earth
it
Band,
best.
yeah. I think like that's why I
This one
brought it
sounds
up
good.
early on because he wasn't on my list, but he was like, oh, they it was real close. Like that was a close contender for me, and it was one of the first things that I thought of as well. So
Yeah,
yeah,
this one maybe a bit more capital P prog, but man, yeah, they're both good. They're both good.
yeah, cool, awesome. I will. I'm not familiar with that one neither. So you've you've hit me for two big ones here, I think, and I probably should definitely explore Yes's mm, stuff a lot more. Um, I always
Yeah,
think this, don't I?
we talked about it before that it can be sometimes difficult with Yes because they are so soft. with if you come in from the metal side of things, it took me 20 years to accept Yes as the holy,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. The giants
yeah,
that they are.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so the next one I was gonna do is um, I don't know if you would know Sleeping Satellite by Tasman Archer. No, it was a song was released in '92, like a female artist. It was pretty popular, pretty popular. Um, yeah, so Sleeping Satellite, you definitely like check that out. But the cover is done by Carnival, so the Australian like sort of prog metal band, and it was like a special track on their Thermata album. I think it was anyway. And but or it might have even been on an EP. This cover is good, like good, good. And look, the original one was actually fine for a pop song. It still had some like quite progressive elements in it as well, which I liked about it. And so I knew that it quite well when I heard this for the first time. So when it was, I think I would have been like 20 in my early 20s anyway when I first heard it. And Carnival just carnivalize it. Like I just don't know how else to say it. They really do just go, yep, we're a metal band. We're gonna make this sound like a little bit more aggressive. Because she yells quite loud and it kind of screams, "Don't blame this sleeping satellite," and a few other things. But they do it their way and they add the ambient, atmospheric undertones. They sort of do it in a way that it fits perfectly within their album that they just like that they released with it. And so I think it is a sensational cover. I think they do it not just justice, but they sort of make it their own while staying pretty true to the song. And it's nearly like maybe Tasman Archer wrote this for Carnival. Like that's the way it kind of comes out. And when you hear them do it, you go, "Oh, cool." That one there's hard to find. You can't find it on streaming services. I'm guessing because of copyright. I have no idea, but you can find it on YouTube. And if you look at the comment section in YouTube, it all says I can never find this. This is one of the best covers, blah, blah, blah. And so there's heaps of people that say, like, I love it. But yeah, check it out. You might actually know the song, but I'm not going to sing it. No, I'm not going to sing it for you.
I will look it up. I will look it up. Yeah.
On that note, if you use at home, you can just press like pause, Google it, listen to it, and then come back to it and be like, yeah, cool, awesome. Or go, no, Josh is full of shit. That was terrible.
Josh full of shit. Comment.
Yeah, that's right. And they can also pick me up on my English when I say to use on the internet. Anyway, they'll know what I'm talking about. Yeah, when you edit this and you have a look at it, you'll be like, oh, right, I see what he's talking about. All right, so you're up. What's your next one?
Okay, so now venturing a little bit into obscure section for everyone who is not Swedish. There was actually, of course, you had progressive rock in Sweden in the 70s, but it was not huge. What, however, was huge was progressive rock. So there was a bit of a confusion, I think, or at least it could be, yeah, a bit. At least it can be a bit confusing that you had a genre in Sweden that was called prog rock because it was progressive politically. Like that was the only. That was like the only criteria for this genre, and it was, you know, it was pretty punky, but it preceded punk a little bit. It started in the beginning of the 60s and went on to like the beginning of the 70s, and lots of similarities to punk, but there was also like even some prog rock bands could be within this context of this genre because they were both musically as well as politically progressive. And of course, we're talking about like pretty hardcore left politically. And so then there was a band called Blå Tåget, the Blue Train, that made a song called Staten Kapitalet, so the state and the capital, and it got covered by one of the most famous Swedish punk bands later on, Ebba Grön. Yeah, this is difficult with all these Swedish words, but
just link it in the stuff down the bottom, and you'll be good.
So I mean, yeah, they turned it into punk, so like way more aggressive, and yeah, I think maybe it's more that I want to bring up this subgenre of Swedish progressive rock, because it has a lot of nuggets in it. Just like you know, it will be obscure for non-Swedish people, just like Sam Rock is or whatever. But there's lots of good things in this genre. I would especially recommend Nationalteatern, very good band. But yeah, if you're interested in hearing something different, I would look up Ebba Grön with Staten Kapitalet. I will write it out. Yeah, it's a cool one. You can also listen to the original by Blå Tåget if you want to.
Yeah, right. Well, this is cool. This is cool. This is why we have this bloody channel. Like, I've just quoted a slight. I don't know how popular Carnival are around the world, really, but then I don't think they're huge.
But in the prog metal community, I think they're kind of
yeah, they're known, right? But they are obscure Australian, progressive. So if people stumble across this, they're probably like, "What the fuck?" But yeah, no, it's good. It's great. I might look because of what you just did. Then I'm going to flip the order of my last two. This next one is also, again, Australian, lesser known than Carnival. So, and I have mentioned them before too, Dead Letter Circus. They did a cover on a radio show. Now in Australia, we have kind of like an alternative radio show, which is sort of funded by and looked after by the Australian Broadcasting Channel. And it's to promote like young Australian artists, essentially. And so there's a lot of if I was going to listen to the radio, that's probably the station that I would listen to. And they have a segment which is called Like a Version. And, touch for the very first time, but version. And so you can look up Like a Version online and find like all of these segments that are done where they pull a band in and the band does a cover. And so this cover is Killing in the Name Of, which you would know from Rage Against the Machine. And obviously, it's a very political, sort of, original, but this one here, instead of being hard, rocking, and over the top, they completely sort of define the sound. And so they use like the little synth pads, and they have like these like little funky beats, and he totally changes the soundscape of the song itself. I think Kim showcases his voice really well and sort of pulls it out. But the reason that I love this cover is because it's just so not Rage Against the Machine. Like, it's just not. And so heaps of people who see this cover, who are huge fans of the original, go, what have you done? Like, this is the worst cover I've ever heard. And so it's copped a lot of like bad thumbs down, but then there's a lot of people that did the opposite and went, oh, this is creative, this is a different take on it, the message is still really clear because it's a political song too. And I kind of really enjoy it, and I think it's one of the better covers that are out there, and probably nobody's ever seen or heard them sort of do it. So definitely check that up. That was Dead Letter Circus, Killing in the Name Of, and I think I might have shared that with you when we first started talking a long time ago.
You did. It's a little bit in the vein of Disturbed covering Sound of Silence, like that it's so very different and way more mellow. Of course, this is way more like this is even more different because the original is not mellow at all. But
no.
And just like with the Disturbed one, this is not my cup of tea. I see why it can be, though. I understand the appeal to it.
It's a reimagining is definitely the right word, I think.
I saw I got tipped by a friend on the gram about a cover of Starless. Actually, it was not a tip. It was more like a have you heard this? But the sender also did not quite appreciate it. A cover of Starless by a band or a group called Unthanks. So King Crimson Starless was covered by something called Unthanks, and then it was like this cursive version of it, and it was also like, this is not my cup of tea. I can see why people would appreciate it, but yeah, sometimes it's like you can understand why someone would like it, but you don't like it yourself,
Absolutely, and that's the best thing about music too. So that's the best thing. Again, like, here's a cool opportunity for people to let us know, that we're both on drugs and that all of what we've recommended today is shit.
Yeah. All right. I hit you with my last one.
Yep. Let's go.
I didn't do one song here. I did a whole performance because Dream Theater has made these performances where they cover a complete album.
Yeah.
I think they did like Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden, for example.
Yep.
That whole album. But most of the time, I listen to that and I think, I want the more raw original version, especially because James LeBrie's voice is not so raw, and they are themselves as a band super polished, right? So usually I just don't prefer Dream Theater's versions. However, when they perform the Dark Side of the Moon uh, album, that whole album by Pink Floyd, I think that they do an astonishing job of it. Like that is a perfect fit. It's very true to the original, but because of, I guess it's because they of course are super inspired by Pink Floyd, and you know that they take their time with all these sounds that they are so good with replicating. I think that James LeBrie's voice fits very good with the Pink Floyd songs. Since that is also a softer singing style usually, um, and you know, it's they just I think it's a great. It's like I might even prefer this to the original version. Maybe people will slaughter me because of this, but I think that this is just some top-notch stuff. It's available on YouTube. You have that live performance of Dream Theater performing Dark Side of the Moon. I think it's yeah, yeah. It's very ballsy to say that I would prefer that to the original, but I'm not like I love Pink Floyd. It's absolutely one of my favorite bands, but uh, I think Dark Side of the Moon is not my favorite album by them. If they would have covered Wish You Were Here, I cannot imagine that I would prefer Dream Theater's version of it. But
Mm.
this version, ah, yeah, really like it.
Well,
So,
and that's so I haven't done that one. I have heard some of the who did you mention before? The Iron Maiden
yeah,
like covers that they did a bit of, but I haven't looked at the Dark Side of the Moon at all. So I'll have to again check that one out too, or the whole album out. So that's exciting actually. That's quite cool, especially if you rate it that highly and you love both those
both bands.
bands.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
My final one. Look, okay. So Prince or the Family wrote a song called "Nothing Compares to You." I don't think too many people think of that cover. Well, I sorry that song when they hear the cover, right? Like they always think of Sinead O'Connor, and I think her very ballsy cover of, oh, not ballsy, but her very prolific is the right word, kind of cover of "Nothing Compares to You" is huge, right? And I think the world sees that as the best rendition. But I believe that Chris Cornell has done a better cover than Sinead O'Connor did. And yes,
By the way, is it so that Sinead O'Connor? I mean, I know Prince wrote the song, but did Prince bring it out before
yeah.
Sinead
So
covered it?
the Family released it in 1985, and then she released it in 1990. And then the cover I'm talking about was recorded, at least the version that I listened to, was recorded just before Chris died.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and I think it was one of the last things he ever really did like record. So if you haven't watched it, like it's a goose. Yeah, it's with
I get
when
goosebumps from you talking about it. Yeah.
yeah. And so here's the thing, like because it's Nothing Compares to You. It's heartfelt in ways that like he does deliver better than what like Sinead does it. Her version is so good, right? And I can't ever hear this song without hearing him now. And he does have this like just he is the voice, right? Like he has such a spectacular like voice, and so for him to be able to do it, and for it just when he sings it as well, his like lazy phrasing where he doesn't use his lips at all when he sings. It's got like this melancholy down, like I've had my heart broken and stomped on kind of emotional context, and
Look, man,
knowing.
the context matters, right? I mean, it was already that he poured his heart out to it into his vocals, and when you also know that, I mean, he was so broken that he ended his life in the end. I mean, that just gives this extra, that this is fucking real what he's pouring into the.
Have you seen have you listened to this cover?
I have not heard it. No. But
by context, brace yourself because you'll probably cry. Like, probably, yeah. No, really, like it's a tearjerker, and knowing what he went through as he was like, before it all finished, like it just breaks me. It really does.
Look, very seldom do I get a tear in my eye, and very seldom do I get that from music. But Chris Cornell is like one of those people that can bring a tear to my eye, and like if you have heard Temple of a Dog, that one record with Say Hello to Heaven, for example, and you just know, oh man, he's there now, it's and that man can and he has this, there's no words that can describe how this man is singing. So I can absolutely imagine what you're saying, that you will just end up crawled up into a little corner and
So it's got to be it's got to be the most played cover in my stats. If I was to look it up, I'm sure that would be the case. It finds itself on most of my sort of beautiful heartfelt moment playlists, and it's just something that I've played to a few people, friends, family, and they've just sat there transfixed because they all know the song so well. But it does have his own unique vocal interpretation of it, I guess, and it's very true. It's very true to the original, but it's definitely got his edge now. And so if I was to sing the lyrics, it would sound more like the Chris version than it would any other one. So for you guys, if you haven't checked it out, you got to check it out. Some of my other ones, I get it if you don't get it, but this one you just can't. I just promise you won't be able to deny it. It's fucking good.
I can imagine. Yeah, absolutely. I can imagine.
So I guess that's my 5. You've done your 5, and I guess there's so many things that weren't covered as well. I found some funky stuff out there, but I've just realized, you said you can't stand covers that are just make it metal, because you could say Let It Go from Frozen. And if you look up Let It Go from Frozen if you have kids, which I know you do, Simon, and then look up metal cover, and all you metalheads out there will be stoked because your kids will be happy and you'll be happy as well, right? So I hear that's what you're saying, but I just thought, what commonalities do my favorite covers have? And I've just realized Nothing Compares to You, tearjerker. Thank You by Steven Wilson, tearjerker. Sound of Silence, tearjerker. Killing in the Name of, it probably reduced you to tears. I lost my headphones. And I guess the last one was Sleeping Satellite. That's just a banger. Sleeping Satellite's just a banger. It's got some energy. It's a good one. But I think that shows that most of the stuff that I really, really love in music is stuff that can pull at my heart, make me cry, and I'm unlike you. I cry at the drop of a hat.
I think this is because you're going into autumn and I'm going into spring, or
you've spent years in the dark.
I usually listen to sad music as well.
Yeah,
but mine were all more happier songs than yours.
Yeah, that's right. So you had Angra. You had Vanilla Fudge, you've got Yes, you've got some band that I can't pronounce and I'm not ever going to try. Yep.
Or Balloon Floyd.
Did I miss one of yours? I think I did.
And you had Dream Theater covering Pink Floyd.
Oh, Dream Theater, yeah. And then I've got Chris Cornell, Steven Wilson, Disturbed, Who would have thought that'd end up on a list for me? Carnival and Dead Letter Circus. So there you go. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Hopefully you found it interesting and a bit of a laugh. Yeah, look forward to hearing your favorite covers. What was that?
Please let us know what covers we missed.
Yeah, and no doubt there's going to be lots and lots of ones out there too. So please let us know, share it, and yeah, get back to us. Hit us up on Instagram. If you can comment, you leave us messages there. We're both of us are pretty responsive when it comes to that stuff. We love a good chat about music. So you can find us there or in the comments in YouTube. Anyway, thanks again. Thank you, Simon, for your time. It was cool to catch up, mate. And I'm looking forward to next week.
Yeah, me too. Always.
Awesome.
Every week.
All right, everyone. Peace out. I'll see you later. Look forward to seeing you then. Bye.